Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Just put your hand up.
Hi, Kat. It's Nicola.
Hi, Nicola.
Hi. I can see in the chat bar we have Gus asking, and I think this is probably to the presenters as well, do you find the place standard links in well with the national standards community engagement? So it'd be super if somebody would be willing to respond to that.
Yep, that's my question. Hello.
Hi, Gus. Thank you. We worked very closely with it's gone right out of my head, the organisation that produced the national standards for community engagement, and we very much see them as being critical to the application of the tool. The tool is a set of questions, really, that gives you that framework, but it is about the quality of engagement, about identifying who your community are and the best way to reach them. SCDC, that's it. I'm not always very good at remembering initials, but yeah, we have worked very closely and continue to work very closely with SCDC. Do any of the case studies want to give their perspective? Did you use it in your planning and delivery? Linda, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I think the thing is that the community engagement processes are fundamental to the work that we're doing, and the Place Standard Toolkit is just one toolkit in the armoury of the things that you can use when you're engaging with communities. So I suppose, yeah, I would say that it is very compatible. It's just the same as any other toolkit that you might use, and make sure that it's relevant to your audience, which is obviously fundamental to how you would take forward the community engagement principles.
Thank you, Linda. I think Gus also asked about timescales. Change can take time, and Gus, you asked how do you keep the community engaged or motivated from the time where you have those initial conversations? If you're still there, if anyone.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still here. God, that was ages ago.
I made a note of it because I thought it was very important.
Obviously, I've got a community development background myself, and you know, it's I'm going to be controversial now. I don't like the word place standards. I don't know what it is. It doesn't make me want to sit up and jump. But having said that, it sounds great. You know, I really like the simple questions and the themes and the clear outcomes and stuff like that. So yeah, looks really good. I know we're using it locally in Dumfries and Galloway here a bit, but I've never used it personally. So
You can start now.
That's it.
Anthea or Linda, have you any perspectives on that? About how you maintain that engagement? Or
yeah, I mean, I think, sorry, I was just going to say, I think Heather covered some of that in her presentation, and that from our point of view, the Place Standard Toolkit was the point was obviously to sort of pull together an action plan for a local area, but there were quite clearly things in there that could be taken forward before that action plan was developed, and I think that's where it's really good to keep communities engaged, because they can be involved in taking some of those actions forward until you actually get to the overall action plan, which maybe is a wee bit more strategic. Yeah, I think that was Heather and Sammy certainly picked up at an early stage, rather than wait until the plan's actually been written to start. You can make a start right away, because people are actually identifying these as areas of concern or areas that they really like about their local community.
I would just like to agree with that. It wasn't a case of doing the consultation or using that as an assessment tool, and then you had the conversations. Things were being implemented as we were going along before we even written the plan. So the local community recognised there was things they could take on board there and then. So it was a continuous engagement process. It wasn't a kind of, you do it and then 6 months later you're coming back and feeding back. You were in there, you were getting involved, and things were moving as we were going through the process. So, yeah.
And you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I think what we were hearing for the students was absolutely that where the relationship was there and you had regular meetings, it was great. You know, because the participants then they were active in shaping the plan. The problem was with the bigger organisations when it was a large scale, so councils, housing associations, where it was people didn't feel really engaged in the process. And that was much more difficult to keep them interested and motivated. There were also examples of, and this was a big council, a community planning area, they had a prize draw where you could win quite a lot of money or vouchers or whatever. And there was also another smaller, very small organisation, and they offered weekly bingo sessions, and at the interval of the bingo sessions, they spoke about, you know, the place standards. So I think it is just about where the worker is very involved with the people. They will listen and try and do things that'll work. When it's a bigger organisation, I'm not absolutely no suggesting the housing association or the council didn't listen, but there was less emphasis on getting, you know, drawing people in.
Anthea.
Just to add, I mean, we'll see whether it works for us. We're actually the active travel hub that is being currently developed at the moment, using the Scotland's Town Fund. Is going to be a BENCOM. It's going to be a community benefit society. So that's taking that, actually making that ownership. You know, you can own this. You can have a part of this. And I'm really hoping it'll pay off. That journey that we've come on will actually, people will go, well, actually, okay, I said that was what I wanted. And these are sort of things that I wanted to improve. So I'll put my money where my mouth is. So I'll actually buy a share and I'll take a part in it. That's the dream. Fingers crossed. I'll watch the space later this year.
One thing that's really struck me listening to all of your examples is that the value of that collaboration between organisations and communities. So even where it is a large organisation like a local authority or a housing association, there are different partners who can do some of that continued engagement over time. So it doesn't just go away into an office for the cogs to churn and an action plan to pop out again at a later date. But there is this continued process of engagement, and people have, different organisations have really been galvanised to shift their way of working, their responses to the emerging results of the place standard conversation. Yeah. I'm aware we've kept everyone over time, so unless anybody's got any other key points that they'd like to make or key questions, I think we've only got 14 people left, so we'll maybe finish up. But thank you all. It's been really, really inspiring. On a personal level, also just to hear all of you talk about your experiences, and I'm glad that we've captured it to share it for posterity, because these are really moving, inspiring stories of how change can happen.
Hi, Kat. I can see there's one more person looking to pitch a quick question.
Yes.
Claire, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Claire.
No, thank you. No, it's just looking at the various aspects or themes for community members or stakeholders to look at their communities. And it's having moved from East Lothian into Aberdeenshire and struggling with internet connectivity. And I think digital, we're in a digital environment just now. That's how we're engaging. It's becoming more and more prevalent in healthcare and education and employment. And that's not really in there, and it's something that is a big issue for me, and I know for other people in rural areas of Scotland. And I suppose the place standards can be adapted, but it is significant, I think, and I don't know kind of how that can be looked at when we're looking at communities.
Thank you, Claire. Actually, that's a really good point, and I'm glad you raised it, because I think that's one thing that we didn't really cover in the introduction. When the tool was launched in 2015, and quite quickly we identified quite a few gaps, digital being one of them, and I think the pandemic has highlighted that even further. But over the last couple of years we've been doing an improvement process on the tool. We've done a lot of stakeholder engagement and have actually created a new tool which does include reference to digital, and that tool is, also addresses some of the other gaps. I think lifelong learning was something that had also been identified in the early stuff. So we've looked at the questions, to try and make them a bit broader so people can bring their own concerns, and specifically to try and address some of those gaps. The new tool will be launched imminently. We're building a new online version of it, and it's going to go up on there. We've had some technical issues, so launch is delayed, but we hope over the next couple of months we will be releasing the new version of the tool. It retains the same 14 themes, but it's just been enhanced to try and address that, and also try and open up the conversation about climate change and the future. And going alongside that, we're also working to develop children and young people's versions of it. So Anne, maybe if you're still there, maybe I'll speak to you about that too. So they will all be launched on the new website along with translations. So thank you for raising that.
It's absolutely great, because we talk about physical environment, we talk about social environment, but we've got a digital environment too. And that's really important just now, and we've learned that through the pandemic. But there's also, a significant kind of part of the population that aren't in that environment, and that's why I love the idea of having a paper copy and sticking it in barbers and hairdressers and Weatherspoons, because they need a voice too. So no, it's great to hear that that's been taken on board. So no, that's great. Thanks for that, Kat.
Thank you. And thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's just started to hail violently against the windows here. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Look forward to continuing the conversation. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.